Gotcha. Okay, and we're live. It's red. Hey,
The light
Travis.
is red.
Hmm.
Greetings, guten tag. Welcome to episode. I think we're on like 28 episodes. I'm very proud of
It's pretty
us for
close. Yeah,
rocking
we're
with
pretty
that.
close to 30.
And hey, I want to start us. I want to kick us off right away with two exciting things. Number one, Rob, we are internationally
We
renowned.
are. We are.
Um, so I'm just going to do a quick shout out to the Aussies and the Kiwis listening because uh, while they may be family, they count. They're listening, and it's great. And we're happy. We're happy you're here.
And we got some
So
feedback from them too, so that's good.
yes, and you know what? The great feedback is this, guys. For some of you fellas that are coming on to the show, I just want to tell you right now. This is kind of how it's laid out here.
Hmm.
We have found that there's a lot of podcasts out there. And I mean, if you're going for like some real heavy, like, um, topic content, like, what would you call it, Rob? Just like, if you want to learn something fancy, um,
Yeah, up to date media or what keeping up with the Joneses type stuff.
yeah,
This probably is not that
you might
podcast.
want to hop on to Armchair Expert or
There you
Joe
go.
Rogan.
Hmm.
Listen to some like famous people out there. But
Yeah,
here's what you're gonna get. There's a lack of a lot of us guys, we don't necessarily have access to our buddies all the time, right? Especially if you're
exactly.
parents, you don't get that. And so what I hope is that we're your buddies. Over
Hmm.
time, you get to just sit back, drive home from work or whatever you're doing, and you get to sit back and listen to your buddies chat. And if you so desire, you can reach out to us and give us feedback on what we're talking about so we can talk about you on
Hmm.
the later shows.
Any
So
topics that you would like us to talk about, or from the perspective of a couple dads, a couple of your buddies, then by all means leave some comments, and that'll definitely be pushed to the top of the pile.
that's right. That's right. So, generally speaking, when you're listening to us here, we're gonna get some chit chat going, and usually we do a little fun little segment, and then we finish things off with a topic of sorts. So,
Hmm.
yeah, but we're just two dads in real life, and so guess what? We are just shooting the breeze, catching
Yes.
up, talking about some fun stuff though, while we live out this crazy fatherhood
Yep.
dream. You know?
No.
So let's kick off the second surprise, which is intro tunes.
Yeah.
And
So
insert them here.
enter
There you
the
go.
yeah. That was it. Thanks
Yep. And
to
I'm gonna
shout out to Travis and the ensemble at home for creating that tune for us. I appreciate that.
Yep. I'm going out on a limb here, and I thought we could sound even more fancy with a little keyboard action, a little nod to like you said. I'm so happy you said this. I didn't even realize it. It was subconscious, but a nod to The Office.
There you go.
Um, that's the vibe you're getting here. We're gonna have some fun, and we're gonna do some office work by talking about
Literally
stuff.
too, figuratively and literally, because this is his work desk and this is my work desk. So
There you go. There you
mhm.
go. Welcome to the shop. Also, speaking of shop, you can't see this if you're listening, but the fun thing about working in the shop is like if you need a blowtorch, like boom, I got one, like right here. And you never know what I'm gonna have on this desk because I'm trying to make it like the podcasting desk, but
Mhm.
it's not always that. I got some cool wall art here. It's a set of antlers that my uncle found like when I was 10.
See, Travis got the cool. We should just use your desk as a background because mine's literally the communal desk. So this is probably the highlight that you're gonna get right here. It is a
Oh,
stapler. Yep,
that's my stapler.
stapler. Yeah,
Yeah.
I was hoping Travis would get that. Yeah, there's a softball pitch again. That's awesome.
So hey, Rob,
What's up?
as per the usual, I didn't
Hmm.
do any homework on this, but I thought we're so good about talking about stuff, we'll have
Yeah.
plenty to discuss. This week's initial segment to kick us off today is
Mhm.
what does that word mean?
Oh man, should I have Chat GPT up on the side just in case?
Yeah, you might need to look this up. You're going to
or
be
a
our computer
Wikipedia?
guy.
Okay.
Um, but I was standing at the kitchen counter and I was washing the
Mm-hmm.
dishes, and it's kind of like the shower. Like just random thoughts come to mind as you're sitting there doing what you got to do, washing the dishes, and I
Mm-hmm.
thought, you know, uh, let me use this in a sentence. Um, I went shopping for some various sundry goods. Maybe is that how you use it? What does the word sundry mean? That's kind of what I wanted to know. And I thought, well, I could look it up, or we could talk about it on the podcast. A lot of people want to
Mm-hmm.
know. By a lot of people, I mean Johnny over in Australia wants to know, how do we make up
Johnny
these topics?
Sundry.
I just type it in as I go. What
Literally,
is this?
that's how it works. Johnny and everybody else listening, if you think we do more than what you see here as far as prep, you would be misguided. But
Yes.
sundry, from my understanding, means diverse. So just a variety, right? So a bunch. I got to buy a bunch of
Ah.
stuff from the shop. So that's what I understand that it means. Now, I am not the world's best thesaurus or dictionary, but I'm pretty
What
sure
is
that's what it is.
what does it say? Can you have that up while you're talking on the computer, or is it going to
Oh,
make you
let me.
disappear?
No. I'm here. This is the nice. Okay, what does sundry mean? Okay, the power of the internet says sundry means of various kinds, several, lemon, rind, and sundry herbs. That's the example sentence. So, a
Yes, yes.
drugstore is
So I
selling
just
magazines, newspapers, and sundries. So, a variety of
oh,
stuff.
you can use it. You can use it as a noun or an adjective.
Yep, that's what it
Yeah.
says. Just various,
So
variety, miscellaneous, assorted, stuff like that.
this the challenge this week for you guys, as after you listen to
Hmm.
this, is use sundry in a sentence.
Like I
And
have a sundries of bruises on my shins from class today. So that's 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 that's, that's the
yeah.
that's how it works.
You want to know what's super cool? Is I was sitting talking to this chimney sweep that was giving us a quote on checking out our chimney,
How
and
cool is that though? That you still can get quotes from a chimney sweep. And by the way, you say chimney sweep, I go back to old Disney movies growing up, Mary Poppins style.
I literally thought
Okay.
like it's Mary Poppins over here.
Yeah.
He could maybe just float up to the roof.
I
That would
was
be
waiting
cool.
for that.
But this guy was awesome. He was cool. But I came to find out that he is now a chimney sweep, but it's his business. But what he did before was teaching years and years of Krav Maga, which have
Wow.
you heard of that? It's
I've
like
heard of that, but I don't think I would
special
have guessed
forces
that. I wouldn't
Israelis
would have guessed
fighting.
that. Could you imagine guessing that?
Yeah.
Like, hey, what'd you do in your past life? Oh, I taught Krav Maga. Like, okay. Now you're cleaning out chimneys. Awesome.
Yeah.
So
So pretty cool. This guy was awesome. I was
I
like,
was gonna
dang,
say you should
like
get a
just based
quote
off your customer
for
service, I
chimney.
want to
You
give
should
you.
exactly. You should get a quote for the chimney and also for private lessons. Like, how can we double down on this opportunity here? You're already gonna be here cleaning out the chimney. Let's do some self defense classes.
I think that's a fantastic idea, and I was thinking about asking, but I found out too late as he was walking out the door, and so, man, missed my opportunity. I might have to call him back. So
Right.
we'll see. But
Especially if he lands the job, right? If his quote was the best quote, if he lands the job, then be like, hey, how can we throw in some like a 10 pack, right? Like let's get some classes going.
yeah, let's throw in some sundry services here.
There you
Uh,
go.
with
Look at
this
Travis
chimney
checking the box
sweeping
before the
work.
end of the week. That's perfect.
Rock
We
on.
just we just also switched
So
over to new Wi-Fi, so we'll see if that works out.
hey, yeah.
Mm.
If anybody knows, I want to get one of those Wi-Fi extenders that's like goes outside, like on the house, because
Oh,
then
okay.
I'll have like primo, like connection out here in the shop. Because I'm in the
Yeah,
back. I'm in the backpack.
yeah. So if you
So
guys have a recommendation, leave them in the comments. Travis needs a strong recommendation. And nowadays you go on Google and you look up a review or best one, and there's way too many options. I'd rather trust one of you guys who'd be like, hey, we have it. We've used it for years. This is the one you get.
that's exactly right. I'm really tired of having to just trust the internet.
Hmm.
I like doing it the old-fashioned way. Every once in a while, it's kind of nice, right?
Yeah. Yep.
So Yeah, I think we need to jump into this topic here because I'm gonna give another shout out to Johnny here. He's the
Mhm.
topic of the day. Honestly, it's
Okay.
because I know he's gonna be listening to this, so um, shout out to him. But he and I had a great conversation while we were on vacation, and
Nice.
it had to do with fatherhood. And I thought,
Hmm.
why not talk about that this week? Because um, not only did I have this conversation, but I also ended up watching something online that was like exactly the same as the conversation I had. And so, why not dive in a little bit and just have two random dads talk about raising their kids, right? That's what we're
Dad
here
stuff.
for.
Yeah,
So,
that's the stories. Well,
fun story. We were in Hawaii, and Hawaii has a lot of fun things to do there. But one of the things that I was pulled into, I can't say I initiated any of this, but
I like
the
the
Kiwis,
disclaimer.
yeah, I'm not this cool, okay, okay, like automatically, if you're an Aussie or a Kiwi, you're cooler because you have a cooler accent than we do.
Oh yeah.
So there's that. But they have this like extra like adrenaline blood inside of them. I think like if you're born there or if you live there for a certain amount of time, I think it's just there. So
Yeah.
they were like, we're gonna go cliff jumping, like for
Oh.
sure. So we got to find all the cliffs, and they knew right where they were,
Hmm.
and we did some cliff jumping. So I say we. On this particular story that I'm talking about, I didn't. Well, I guess I did. I jumped off the kid part, the kid section.
We
Um,
could just say the shorter cliff. It's not the kids
the
section. It's just the
shorter
shorter cliff.
cliff.
There you go.
Yeah, yeah. So the tall cliff was really really high up, and it was one of those
Hmm.
ones where you jump in and the waves are like pushing you onto the rocks, and you're
Hmm.
like, I want to have fun, but I don't want to die, so I'm gonna keep it like kind of in the middle,
We
give
should, we
myself the
should,
best
we should,
chance
we need to
to
make
get out
some
of the
dad
water.
shirts that just says that. You know what? I want to have fun, but I don't want to die. Like that's the biggest
we
change when you become a parent and you start to use that filter. Like, hey, should I bungee jump? You know what? I want to have fun, but I don't want to die. So,
I did there we are gonna have uh dads in real life swag pretty soon here. I mean, the
oh, we're
amount of
gonna have
things that we've
so
talked
much
about.
merch.
Oh, oh, the merch line is coming.
The
Oh, this is
one-liners. Yep.
yep. So, um, yeah, went jumping, and what was fun was Johnny. His family came out. He's got a bunch of kiddos,
Nice.
and right off the bat, his I think he's 4. His 4-year old was like, "Hey, Cliff." He walks up to the edge, boom, jumps off,
Wow,
like
a little evil
without
Knievel there.
hesitation. Like his so
Huh.
Johnny's standing there on the top on the ledge, and he's like, "You want to go?" No, he's like, "Hey, you want to go? You want to go?" That's how the Aussies say it,
That's pretty good, actually.
right? Right. So you want to jump into the water right over there, and he was like, "Heck yeah, mate, I'm doing it." So he jumps in, and he just jumps right on the back of the of Ben, the other his uncle, and just like bloop, gets carried up
Yeah.
onto the rocks. Pretty insane, pretty cool. I was like, wow, that's this. I mean, like this kid's 4. Like, I mean, like some
No
kids are just
fear.
built different. I
No
was like, I'm
fear.
not gonna my my
I
kids are not gonna jump this because I don't know if I can survive. So
I was gonna say it's usually lead by example, right? So if dad's up there, then the 4-year-old's like, "Oh, I got this." Dad wouldn't be
yeah,
up here if I didn't get this. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. So then, I jumped in. I'm getting out, and his oldest son is like, I'm gonna jump off this cliff, and he goes up. He's I think he's 10.
Mhm.
Um, and so he was standing there, and long story short, basically, Johnny's standing there, and he's like, talking to him, hyping him
Mhm.
up,
Mhm.
and his son's like really like you can tell like
You could feel it.
every ounce of his body like he wants to jump, like he is like,
Mhm.
I am doing this, but then he was also every single bit like terrified of
Oh
jumping
yeah.
off this cliff. But he's like thinking about like, well, my like little brother just did this, like I
I have
have
to
to
do
do
this.
this. But turns out he ends up not jumping. He's standing up there for a long time. And
Mhm.
like Johnny did all the things. Was like, how about like I'm gonna hold you and we'll jump in together. Like, come on,
Yeah.
I'm and he did great, just talking him through it, and eventually they stepped off the cliff, and
Oh,
or like
nice.
not off the cliff. They stepped back from the
Yeah,
edge.
yeah, they didn't jump. They didn't
Yes,
jump.
yes, yes.
Good for him.
Yeah. So I told him, I was like, dude, I had to do I would be terrified. And you know what? Like, way to go. And
Mhm.
his son was really upset. Like, just
Mm.
man, like he just wanted to jump off this thing. And so Johnny and I are walking back to the car. It's like a little trek. And we had a great conversation. I was just like, you know what? I gotta give it to him. You can tell he's so determined, because
Mhm.
if I was in that situation, I would have said, okay, I'm terrified, not doing that again. Ha. And I would have said, great, like, let's go.
Mhm.
But he was like so frustrated. And I'm like, I think that frustration is kind of a good sign. He's just a determined dude. Like,
Mhm.
he wants to do this. and and then we talked about, yeah, it's crazy just having to, like, I guess the question that came up was like, as a dad, how do
Mhm.
you father like your kid? Really, it doesn't have to be son,
Mhm.
but like, into doing hard things.
That's a great
and
question.
and like, how do you know when to push and when not to? I think
Mhm.
a lot of us, if we're honest with ourselves as dads, like, like, we're always going to have, like, we're all new at this until, I mean, until you're always new. Every new
You're
season
always
is
new.
new. Yeah. You have all
Exactly.
these,
You never get
you
it.
have
You
kids,
there's
but
no
every
point in
kid is
time where you're
different.
like made it. Yeah.
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 Yeah. You never arrive, right? We
Yeah.
could go off on a whole tangent about that. But the reality is just like, man, if we're honest with ourselves, we're just trying to figure it out day by day,
Mhm.
and hopefully, the thing that I'm always looking for and hope to, I don't want to say in this season, I was been thinking about, I don't think I have it exactly, but in some ways I do. Somebody else who's been through it all. And it's
Mhm.
like, hey, looking back, the great thing about this podcast is we actually are doing this thing right now. Like, you're a little bit ahead. So I have some, like, hey, Rob, what are we doing here? Um, but like, even just like, I really appreciate those kinds of guys. Oh man, now I'm going on a tangent. But yeah, I appreciate those kinds of guys that are like in their 60s, 70s, that can think back and remember
Yeah.
all that
Yep.
stuff, and can almost sit there and listen and empathize, but then also kind of, you know guide a bit, coach a bit in
Yeah,
the conversation,
and
right?
it's nice that a lot of times it's like, especially with those like elders, kind of like those mentors. It's not so much of like, when I get those opportunities, I don't feel like I'm doing wrong. It's like, oh, I'm like 80%. Okay, awesome, good. As long as I'm in the right direction, from someone who's already done it, I'm not looking to do their exact path. But if I know I'm like, at least I'm not pointed south, right? Like, I'm not walking away from it. But yeah, having those guys in your life are super important, super cool to have.
Yeah, yeah. So right now, it was cool to sit there, to bring it back around, was
Hmm.
um to go like, man, how far do you push,
Hmm.
and so then I'm back home, and like 2 days later, I see, there's this bucket list family. They're
Yeah,
popular
yeah,
on
yeah.
Instagram and whatnot.
Yep.
Garrett is his name. Garrett Gee, I think.
Yeah.
So he posted a video saying, like, that not every parent, just to let you know, not every parent might like this, but this is the way that I, like, parent my kids in, like, scary times, right? So he's
Mhm.
cliff jumping with his son, and he, like, picks his kid up and throws the kid in, and the kid's like,
Yeah.
woo, and this was the question I was asking Johnny, was just like, how do you know when it's the right time to just push them, and when it's the
Hmm.
right time to be right next to them? and
Hmm.
when is the right time to encourage them, even if it didn't work out. When is the right time to say, hey, maybe we just step back and revisit. And I think a lot of dads will have a lot of opinions about that. It'd be
Oh
interesting to
yeah.
hear the reasoning behind which one or not the other. But you
Hmm.
look at that situation, and right, and they went ahead and stepped back. They said, okay, it's like he's not going to jump. We'll do it another day.
Hmm.
And then you look at this other one, and Garrett, he ended up getting all this heat. It showed up on the news everywhere,
Oh
like
wow.
influencer dad throws his kid
Throws
off a
child off
cliff.
cliff. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And so, and right, and they were like, everybody's just trash talking because it gets all this hype. But he
Hmm.
obviously was intentional in the way that he communicated that. So if anybody took the time to actually sit and watch it, they would know, like, he didn't
Yeah.
just throw his kid off.
Well, in this instance too, before we kind of deep dive into the when and why and the how, is a lot of stuff you see on social media is a snapshot, right? And so we're needing to
Yeah,
fill in and build context around it that may not be true. So, and I don't follow the family. I know of them. I've heard of them. I've seen them on a show back in the day. But what I could imagine is if you were to go through his Rolodex of photos, you probably see him doing this in the ocean and then throwing his child in the pool. You probably see him throwing his child for playtime and bean bags and stuff. And you probably see the child rock climbing and tumbling. And so that's the child's play. That's how he learns. That's part of how he was raised. So this was just the next level in that play scenario. So, and to kind of tie it into like overcoming fear and doing hard things, I'm totally for doing hard things and teaching your kids to do hard things. But I wouldn't be surprised if you saw beforehand where they started at a lower cliff and then a lower cliff, but you only saw the one video of him throwing over the highest cliff. So I think you got to give it a grain of salt. We don't know the full story in the context. But yeah, I could only imagine this is not the first time that they quote unquote were playing rough housing together.
yeah,
But it's
totally.
funny. It's funny how everyone jumps in really quick, be like, "Hey, you can't do that." It's like, well, you weren't there the minute before, the minute after, the years before, the years after. So
That is some beautiful perspective to bring in. I want like a little perspective bell that I can ring. I'm gonna buy a bell, and I'm just gonna go ding ding, because
ding.
if you've been listening to all of our podcasts, I think at least like 12 times Rob's been like, if you think about it, and then perspective ding ding.
Ding. Okay, we'll
So
add the
there you
bell
go.
to the list. We'll add
Thanks
the
for
bell to the
ringing
list.
the perspective bell.
Of course. But yeah,
Yeah.
to kind of jump into the topic of like how I, and again, a lot of the stuff that you hear on the podcast is just Travis and I's perspective. It's not
Yeah.
like verbatim. It's not that we'd recommend anything we do, but we can share what we do. So hopefully it gives you an idea of opportunities or options. And a lot of times, to be truthful, it might be like, there's no way I'm doing that. Right. So when it comes to doing hard stuff, a couple things. I also think it has to do with the situation and age, right? So if you talk about like a 10-year-old, because I have a 10-year-old too, a lot of times we're reaching an age where it's not just the fear of the activity, but it's there's other people around. I want to make mom and dad happy. I have friends and cousins here, right? So all that starts to play into the anxiety building. So it's no longer just like, wow, that's far away or that's deep. It's all these other things. And a lot of times that self-talk starts to build and it's just too much. So in this specific context of like a 10-year-old where I'm worried not only like of the fear of jumping, but like, hey, my little brother just did this. You know what I mean? Oh, my dad's gonna do it, and my uncles are here. Like that's a lot of stress. So if I was parenting that, I would just first off let them know that hey kid, like if you don't want to do this, like Uncle Travis still gonna love you. I'm still here. We're still going for ice cream afterwards. And even if you want to try it a little bit later, or maybe we step down to the lower ledge, we get in there, we jump in, and then we'll take a step higher and we'll jump in. We'll take a step higher and we'll jump in, whatever you need to, but you do not need to do this. This is totally cool. And you know what? If you don't do this, I'm not going to do this either. So to show them that this doing it or not doing it doesn't dictate a sense of accomplishment or love or, you know, like if you don't, then you're less than. I think giving that the space, it helps build their kind of their stress level or the ability to deal with stress for bigger things down the line. Now, if they're like a toddler and stuff like that, they don't know the difference. I've thrown my kids, all the toddlers, in the pools when they were young, and it was part of their play. But once they started to realize like their surroundings and they started to feel things, then by all means they can say no. But yeah, a lot of times in my situations and doing scary things, thankfully, a lot of my kids like they step up to bat. I'm fully supporter when it comes to this. I'm like, hey, you don't have to do this. I'm always the one like, hey, you can step down. I don't even want to drop into the half pipe, right? Like, it's totally cool. And so I let them take that initial step, because for me, I remember growing up, like, being, for someone who kind of always led, right? Like, someone would always lead me to it. When it came time to lead, I always had a challenge with self-confidence, because I never had the opportunity to break through that threshold on my own, right? It was like, oh, I don't want to do it. Don't worry, Rob, I got you. And then we would do it together. So for my kids, when they were younger, it's we do it together. When they got older, it's like, hey, it's totally your choice. But I show them the opportunities. I give them enough opportunities to know that, hey, once you do this hard thing, the next thing's a little bit easier. The next thing won't take as long. The next thing's going to be less scary. And for my older kids, what I've seen in retrospective, right? Because we are like a decade apart as far as the kids,
Yeah.
is they now have enough data points to know that they're going to be okay. Like, yes, it's scary, but it's more the situation that's scary. It's not, nothing's going to come of harm. Tomorrow, still the sun's still going to rise. So once you learn that, they're more willing to take that leap of faith, kind of face fears, do the hard things, because they know that's when they learn. Like, the middle kid throughout gymnastics was really frustrated with handstands. As soon as she got handstands, like, everything else got easier. Every future sport got easier, because she faced her fears, knowing that, hey, it's going to be hard in the beginning. Everything new, everything scary is hard in the beginning. And the gals who make it look easy, it's because they've been doing it for a while, right? It's scary for everybody. So that's kind of like an all-encompassing review of, like, hey, how I would parent my kids through hard stuff. It could be jumping off a cliff. It could be trying out for the school musical, right? It could be dropping into a half pipe. All those things have more than the fear factor involved. There's people, the peers, right? Stuff like that. So, but leading them to many opportunities to face those fears. And some we come up short and we learn, right? And other times, you walk through the fire and you realize, kind of like walking on those. I remember back in the day for like personal development leadership, that, the coals, you always see them back in the YouTube videos, like, we're going to walk along the
Yeah.
coals. You're like, there's no way I'm doing that. But then once you realize you walk through it, and you can do it, you create more of the fear in your head than the activity is really. And so for my girls, raising them and facing their fears and doing hard stuff, they start to realize that the hype is like 90% they created. And as long as they can understand that, 9 out of 10 times they'll step through that door, they'll still do it. And on the 10% they don't, hey, we live to try another day.
Yep. Yep. You're just like when you go to the gym, you start working out for the first time. You're starting with the little weights, you're working your way
Mm-hmm.
up, but it's almost, you're building emotional muscle memory, right?
Yes.
Is like, I like thinking about that way. So every time you run into this new circumstance where you're having to teach your kid something, whether it's something about fear or whether it's something else, so you can almost kind of lock that away to say, this is one. Like I like remember that,
Mm-hmm.
and this is one of many. This is going to be
Mm-hmm.
one of many. And so, how can we puzzle this together to teach a bigger lesson, essentially?
Mm-hmm.
Those are the opportunities that I feel like I missed a lot because I am naturally just more lazy. Really, just I'm not.
You have
I'm
plenty of
not.
opportunities, Travis, coming.
Yeah, yeah,
It's
yeah,
like
yeah, yeah.
the
There
game
will
is
be
not
lots of
over.
opportunities. Yeah,
Game is not
but
over. Yeah.
yeah, yeah, yeah. But I've noticed in myself something that I need to work on for myself is just that intentionality piece. Like it's
Mm-hmm.
so, and I'm assuming there are a lot of guys out there that could attest to this, but it is so easy to just like sit on the couch of parenthood
Yeah. Yep.
and just watch it go by. And
So
there's
true.
definitely a bigger calling to what we could achieve as dads rather than just being there. But I mean, being present is great. Being present is awesome. But
Yeah,
how do
but
we
you know
take
what?
that next step?
And to speak on that, and I've had discussions with parents and dads and moms alike in the past, and it's one of those things where, especially when you become a new parent, like it's your first child, that's very easy to do, right? We're exhausted, we're stressed out, and so the little opportunities to be a parent, not to be a parent, but like jumping off a cliff, right? Those little opportunities with our firstborn, it would never even pop into my head. It'd be like, I'm so tired. If you don't want to do that, don't do that. Like, come back to the beach. Right. And so, in retrospective, with every sequential child, my kind of spidey senses about opportunities like that becomes louder. So it could be the cliff jumping, it could be dropping in the half pipe, it could even be like choosing what's for dinner, right? Like that's so automatic. The parents always do it, but giving the opportunity, like, hey, you're the oldest. Where do you want to go? Wow, like I get to have that power, that power of responsibility. Like, yeah, like now is the time to learn how to do it. It's kind of like learning to drive in the Costco parking lot before you take your driver's test, right? So it's that spidey sense of all these awarenesses. And now I know with 3 kids, a little bit older, like I start to pick up on the like, hold a second. I can be frustrated that I'm hungry or that I'm tired as a dad, or I just worked a full shift and now I got to have all this energy. Where it's like, no, this is an opportunity. Like we could level up, right? So I kind of see it like an RPG game. Like, hey, I could really help my kid level up here if I just like paused for a second, kind of scoped out like what's really going on here, and give them an opportunity to kind of step into it. So now that came with kids. The first kid was like, no, blinders on. I'm so tired. Like, there's no lessons here. We just got to get it through the summer, right? That's the whole thing. So I think, speaking to the dads out there who are struggling like this, I don't know when these opportunities arrive. It's, if you're in that first season, don't worry about it, right? And like Travis said, being present is probably the hardest part, because you could easily worry about finances, worry about work, worry about your spouse, worry about being a parent. And that takes up the bandwidth for these opportunities to kind of step in. But as you become a seasoned parent, or even with time, or even working on yourself a little bit, you'll start to realize like, hey, for instance, like going down the slide the first time on their own, like, hey, this is an opportunity to do something scary where I'm not going to hold your hands anymore. Let's give it a try. And so, yeah, so have grace. And we've talked about this many times on podcast, Travis, like have grace with yourself, especially if you're coming into this role of a dad. But for me, my personal story, those opportunities, I became more aware the longer I was a parent. Right. And I guess that makes sense for most things.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. It all takes practice,
Mm-hmm.
and you're not gonna be like all-star uh, level like just
No.
right out the gate. That's why it's nice because they come through stages. They
Mm-hmm.
the you, like just like the poop in the diaper.
It's
I
so
could
true.
not handle.
So
I
true.
could not handle the human waste factor. If I had to start at a 2-year-old, you know, but like you start with that little baby diaper that's like the size of your palm, and you're
It
like,
smells
okay,
like
fuck it,
poopery, right? It's like, oh, it's not too.
yeah, it's fine, it's fine, it's gonna be fine.
Just wait till Whole Foods, dads. Just wait till Whole Foods.
Yeah, if you're not there yet, you'll get there, and it's full and lots of
It's full of
it's
life.
full. Yeah, the diapers get bigger and more full. Um, and so does your heart.
Exactly.
So yeah. So let's see here.
Hopefully, I gave you enough of a kind of a scope. But actually,
I
Travis, like I know you talked to your buddy about this, but we weren't there. So what have you done? What have you seen as opportunities, or how would you deal with, you know, that fear factor of learning something new? Maybe picking up a baby chick for the first time in the backyard, and I'm kind of scared I'm going to get bit. Like, how do you not address this, but how do you approach that as dad?
Yeah, I mean, at this stage of life, I'm definitely, I'm very similar to you in the sense of like we can always step back, but we're gonna
Mhm.
try again. Let's step back. We'll try again. Um, at the kids' stages where they're at, like Hudson's gonna be 6
Mhm.
in October, and so now we're getting to that point where he's like, ooh, like, oh, like, Dada, let's go do that. Like, I'm really excited for that stage with him specifically. But yeah, like with all of the kids, I think it's been really, really similar to that at a smaller scale. So,
Mhm.
like showing them like the little baby chicks at first, like Harper, she picked one up, and this was when she was 2, and she just really didn't really have the fear there. It was
Mhm.
more of like the having to model how to be gentle, but she was just like, ooh, and then she threw it, And it was like, oh, I don't know if that one's gonna make it. Um, one of them didn't. I don't remember which one. I think it was that one, but I don't think it was because of that. But anyways, um, it was just like, okay, let's. It's the stepping back in again.
Mhm.
That's the hardest part. I think is like when your kids don't want to do that, but
Mhm.
for the sake of like, yeah, like for if you take the chicken example, or like, like, hey, here's a little baby chick. We could just say, okay, we're done. And this
Mhm.
is what I'm working on. Like, and I think, again, shout out to my wife. She's very good at this, like sticking with it. Um, she's good at that of just like, hey, no, we're gonna take the time to pick it up again, and
Mm, mhm.
we're gonna do better this time. And so it's, I guess we're stepping away from the fear part, like, but still, like, yeah, we're modeling it. So okay, let's try
Yeah.
again. We could just say, yeah, okay, we're not going to pick those up again and then be
Mhm.
done. And then you don't but then you don't get to engage in what the next steps are,
Yeah,
right?
the learning
So
opportunity. Mhm.
yep. So then the later on she got real good at it. She's like carrying the chickens all over, and like, this is great. She jumps in the chicken coop, and now she's cleaning, like, part of
Oh,
her
nice.
chores. Like, she likes to clean out the coop. I'm like, great job. Like, she's got it down. And like, um Hudson was like, I'm not sure I'm a fan of holding the chickens as much, which
Yeah.
I'm like, I'm like, I get that. But like, he held the chicken and he's like, whoa. So he got that modeling too. He got to hold like the big chickens. And but it's I don't know where I'm going with it. It's just more of like, it's interesting. What I'm finding is like, there is the question first off of like, just, yeah, how much do I push on like something that's exciting? But then there's also, yeah, the question that I run into lately is just like, how much do I have the energy to push to
Yeah.
like teach in
Yeah.
this? That's the thing, is like, it's one thing to like bring them into that situation, but the next level up
The patient
is
muscle. Yeah.
to actually, like, let's practice.
Mhm.
Let's do it again. This might be miserable for both of us, but let's try it again, you know?
Mhm.
Um, and that has always proved to be fruitful. That's the thing I've noticed, like with
Yes.
little kids and teaching them. This isn't really cliff jumping, but it's more like, what I say is, it's not like a, this is fun and this is scary, kind of like the thrill side of it, more
Mhm.
of like the, just like the teaching them how to do stuff, like even when they
Mhm.
don't want to.
Yeah, I think
That's
that's
I
where
feel
that
like,
discipline, right? You're modeling discipline for them, right? So not all the times we're going to be motivated and happy to do things, but there is a positive point to doing it when you're not really feeling like doing it. Right?
yeah. And I mean, I feel like it's just ever present in my brain right now, in the sense of like, I want to remember this 15, 20 years down the road. So again, chat
Mhm.
GPT, log this on the podcast so you can tell
Gotcha.
me down the road. um, but I want to be better um, at being disciplined, right? Like,
Mhm.
being disciplined in my own mindset of being willing to engage and be intentional about the tough conversations and the tough, like, learning, like, opportunities that come up, and the challenges, right?
Mhm.
Because that's not naturally my nature. I think there are a lot of guys out there that, like, discipline just comes more naturally. And
Mhm.
so for myself, I feel like maybe, I don't know, percentage wise, like, how many guys out there are like me compared to like more. I don't want to say it's type A, like,
No.
that's the personality, but like, like, I wasn't raised to be lazy, but that's just innate in me. And so it's like, okay, I want to make sure that I am doing my best to do that, because it's like we talked about a couple podcasts ago, a couple episodes ago, of, you're, as a parent, you're put in this place now of where you are having to teach them about something.
Mhm.
And the icing on the cake is, you might have to teach them about something that you don't know. So it's like,
Yeah.
how do I father in this space that I'm not necessarily good at, right? So then
Mhm.
it's like, oh, it's on me to take the initiative to then get better at that and practice that. And also,
Mhm.
like we talked about in other episodes, is to be humble enough to to be okay with that and to show that you're learning and that you're trying.
Yes,
Um,
100%. And I think there's pressure. I know I felt it as a dad, and I know we've talked about it before. And even with our dad friends, it's kind of like coming up. And once you have that role, you kind of are drawn to that role of being a parent. Then there's pressure to always have the answer, right? Like, how do I do this? How to do that? And be it from your spouse, be it from your kids, be it from your peers, to always have the answer. And sometimes, like, oh, I'm just going to fake it till I make it. Sometimes that doesn't work, right? Like, and to be transparent and knowing, hey, you know what? I don't know, but I could research like the best one next to me and I'm going to go do my best. Or, you know what? I don't know the answer, but Uncle Travis does. Let me reach out to him. He's going to teach me how to do it. And then I'm going to do my version of it with you, but at least to know that, oh, and I think that's also powerful for kids to see that their parents aren't these know-it-alls, right? Like that we're still learning. Just the other day I remember we were talking, Mo and I were talking, and then one of the girls overheard us like working on homework, and she's like, you get homework? It's like, yeah, as adults we're still practicing and learning things, and because of that, we do homework, right? Where every day we're going to practice a little bit more. And she's like, that's so cool. And
yeah,
so that I think is also empowering, so that kids know that they don't need to grow up perfect, or like by the time I get to mom's age, I need to know everything. Like, oh my goodness. Right. So, yeah, we just recently in the household had that talk too.
it brings us back to the conversation of how important it is to also be in community with
Mhm.
other people and to be vulnerable in that space to be at that point where they are they get to, yeah, they get to learn from others and they get to see you learn
Mhm.
from others too. um that's a powerful thing.
Mhm.
So shout out to that as well. So yeah, I would say, what I mean, the key takeaway for me today is this: that um, practice makes perfect, and you got to put in the practice. See each one of those moments where you go, "Hey, how'd I do as a dad in that moment?" Don't
Mhm.
don't be hard on yourself. Give yourself grace, but also go, "Hey, this is another opportunity for me to like tuck that into the tool belt, essentially, to say, we can use this for later, and this is one step that's way, like, they might not see it, they're seeing this as like the end all be all, but there's so much more to be had in the future.
Mhm.
So like that one step, you can go back a step, you can go forward a step, like the cliff, you can go lower, you can go higher. Like, there will be other opportunities, and take advantage of every moment that you have.
Yeah. And I think from my end, like, build opportunities daily of doing hard things. Now, they don't need to be to scale, like cliff jumping scale every single day, but picking between the red crayon and the yellow crayon for that age group, right? Whether or not I should go hang out with my friends at the mall or not. Well, do you want to? Right. And working through the emotional aspect. Well, I don't want to, but I feel like I need to. Like, all that stuff is doing hard things. And I think if you can expose your kids to doing hard things daily, they start to build resilience. They start to build that muscle memory of knowing that, okay, is this really hard, or am I making it hard, right? Based on like what I think my friends would think, or what I think my parents would think, or is it really hard? If it's really hard, then yeah, maybe we should step down. We're not ready for a level 10 yet, right? Okay, awesome. We'll step back today. But the more you give them opportunities to do hard things, I think that's one of the strongest ways to build self-confidence and resilience, like I mentioned. So their ability to handle these things, because as we know as parents, right, the small like puppy love problems, like, oh, red crayon or this doll or that doll, that might seem trivial, but those are the stepping stones that build up to, should I take this first offer in my career or not? Right. So should I marry this spouse, right? Like this person to be my spouse. So I think it starts when they're younger. And so the more opportunities, the easier those tougher not easier, but the the more settled they'll be making those choices.
Yep, yep. Mm. And that's all the time we have for today. I want to leave it right on that.
That
Settle in
sounds
on
good.
that note. Push the back button like twice. Get another 30 seconds of that. that was fantastic. So, as a reminder to all of you out there, we are not professionals.
No, we're not gurus. We're just
Just two
two dads
dads in real
in real
life.
life.